All right, so for example 3, using systems, let's find the length and the width of a rectangle whose perimeter is 20 feet and whose area is 21 square feet. What do we know about the perimeter of a rectangle? All right, so perimeter is equal to length plus width plus width. Or we could say, 2L plus 2W. And so it told me here the perimeter is 20 feet, which means 20 is equal to 2L plus 2W. And since we're used to seeing the equal sign on the left side, the right side of the equation, let's go ahead and change that around. So I'm just going to move this over to the other side. So 2L plus 2W is equal to 20. So there's one of my equations I'm going to use. But then it tells me about the area. What do we know about area of a rectangle? And so if my area is 21, and I'm going to do the same thing there. I'm just going to move the 21 equals to the other side. So we know that length times width equals 21. And so from that, we have our system. It tells us 2L plus 2W equals 20, and L times W equals 21. Now, how do we want to solve this? We can use substitution or the elimination addition method. Substitution. All right. So if we use substitution, remember we want to pick one equation and solve for one variable. Do you want to use the top or the bottom equation? Bottom. Okay. Do you want to solve for L or W? L. All right. So if I want to solve for L, how do I get rid of the W? Divide by it. And so we know L is equal to 21 divided by W. So then remember, with substitution, we're going to take that and plug it into the other equation. So our other equation was 2L plus 2W equals 20. And so 2, we solve for L plus 2W equals 20. And we know L is 21 over W. What can I do now? Can I multiply these two? Yeah, remember this 2 is like 2 over 1. And when you multiply straight across the fractions, right? So we get what? 42 over W plus 2W equals 20. But what's wrong with this? What's giving you issues?
I feel like this is where I'm on my own. I'm just digging deeper and deeper in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
We're okay. It's a fraction, and we don't like fractions, do we? But we know how to get rid of them. How do I get rid of that fraction? And it says divided by W, so how would I get rid of that? Multiply by W. Remember, do the opposite. But what we do to one, we have to do to all to keep it equal, right? So it gives me 42 plus 2W squared equals 20W. And now what do we do when we have a W squared and a W? What do we do when we have two different forms of the same variable in an equation? All right, put them in descending order, their exponents, because we want a factor and we need the equation set equal to 0. So let's move this 20W over. And let's put them in descending order. So I'm going to put 2W squared minus 20W plus 42 equals 0. Now how can I factor that? Yeah, common factor out of 2. Everything there is divisible by 2, isn't it? So since we have the equal sign, instead of writing 2 times, we can actually just say we're going to divide everything here by 2. As long as you do it to all, it's okay. So w squared minus 10w plus 21 equals 0. And now what?
This was crazy.
We can factor. It's a simple trinomial. So 2 parentheses. Remember your first terms. We'll multiply to give you w squared, which is good. And my last terms are going to multiply to what number? And then read it backwards. They also add to 10. What multiplies to 21 that adds to 10? Bigger number first. Bring down that first sign. Negative 7 times what kind of 3 gives us a positive 21? It wasn't an alien. No person to bring back. So then set them individually equal to 0 and solve. The 2 we divided out completely. If you put it at the beginning, you would set 2 equal to 0, and that wouldn't make sense, so you just throw it out. Because it has to have a variable. Alright, and so we know our width can either be 7 or our width can be 3. But we also need to know our length, don't we? So remember, our length was equal to 21 over w. So it's going to be 21 over 7, which is, and here the length was 21 over w, which is 3. So 21 over 3 is 7. So the width is 7 feet when the width is 3 feet. The width is 7 feet when the length is 3 feet. Or the width is 3 feet when the length is 7 feet. Oh no, I'm out of room. Well, that says feet there at the very end.